DOGMA in Budapest. So how did they do? It had been 5 months since the last date of their United States tour. Were they rusty? Let's think about this. Hey everybody, I'm Wayne, your metal professor. Thanks so much for choosing this video when you had millions of others to choose from.
Thank you. Thank you.
If you like it, please give it a thumbs up, leave a comment, man, join the conversation, and do consider subscribing. That would really help me out. Now, the answer, were DOGMA rusty in Budapest, the first gig, their first European tour? No, they weren't at all. Now, the nature of the performance was a little bit different, not just the set list, which we'll get to here in a second, but the last time the band played in public, the Cobra Lounge in Chicago, it's a very small room, and, I was here, and the band was here, so really close. The Analog Club in Budapest is not as small as that. In fact, it's got like a 500-person capacity, and I don't think it was at capacity, but I'm just guessing. I'm bad at numbers, but I'd say there were a good 200, maybe 250 people in the room for DOGMA. So, that's great. That's really good. We like that. Because it's a bigger room and the stage is elevated, more elevated, and there's actual physical distance, right, between the edge of the stage and where the audience is. So that environment just does not lend itself as well to specific interaction between a band member and any specific audience member. So there wasn't quite as much one-on-one interaction, but barring that, this was the same band kicking the same amount of ass, which is all of it, that I saw in Chicago. They did also surprise me because I wondered if DOGMA would be heavy enough. They were following Monastery, a death metal band, I think, and Nidhogg, a black metal band, and they were opening for another super heavy band, Patriarch, and DOGMA were heavy enough. They cut out a couple of songs, Fuel the Zeal and Free Yourself, both songs that I really like, but they are not among the heaviest in the band's canon, although they included Band, which isn't the heaviest of songs either, but what are you going to do? And maybe it was my imagination, but it seemed to me as though the guitars were turned up, the crunch was turned up, the gain on the guitars, and the bass was pushed a little further forward in the mix. Now, maybe that isn't the case. Maybe it was just the acoustics of the room, or my brain just making shit up. Who knows? But they sounded plenty heavy, and the crowd reacted as though they were plenty heavy, and it was great. Guitar stuff first, just because I really like guitars. Lamia and Rusalka played just as well together here as they had in Chicago, and when I saw them before in Lima, Peru. And in the esteemed tradition of Downing and Tipton, and Murray and Smith, they even did some unison lead playing. Maybe they had done the unison lead playing in the other shows and I just didn't notice it. I don't know, but I sure noticed it here. So, the guitar work, great. Abrahel, who unfortunately I could not see except when she came out to get behind the drum set in the first place. Abrahel made thunder behind the kit. And, okay, this is kind of a digression, I guess, but I love the fact that Abrahel, she's so little and she's so soft-spoken, but she's a giant behind the drums. I just love that. I love that, I don't know, dichotomy or something. So cool. Anyway, Abrahel did great, and the stage itself was bigger than either of the stages I've seen DOGMA perform on before. At least I think it was bigger. I think it was wider, or at least as wide as the stage that I saw them on in Peru. And they also had a lot more back and forth room, a lot more depth of stage to play on. And they took full advantage of having all that room, and they put on just a hell of a show. It was nice to see them, some of them actually running back and forth. Sometimes it was clear that that happened when they were like, oh shit, I have to hit that foot switch on my pedal board right now. Run across the stage, but I love that stuff. And nobody was more animated than the woman who might have the most room-brightening smile and most intimidating glare in all of metal. Of course, you know who I'm talking about, Nixe. If there's anything Nixe doesn't have, bass playing wise or any otherwise, I don't know what the it would be. And of course that brings us to Lilith. I don't want to be too crude about this, but Lilith sang her tits off. This was just full frontal assault Lilith all the time, as far as I could tell. Again, the band did not seem shaky. There weren't any, grooveless moments. These 5 performers have gelled like gorilla glue, man. They are solid on stage. And the music is extremely well written. Any Dogma fan would attest to that. And of course they would. Of course we would. And I still listen to that album over and over. But why, Wayne, you say, do you keep going to see them live? It's because of the energy and the vibe and the full concert experience that these 5 performers deliver on stage. I don't know if Ian DeLeo and the Rabachino brothers, the managers of Dogma, know this. I expect they do. But man, they got lightning in a bottle with these 5 specific performers and the way that they interact with each other and with the audience. So that's why I keep going to see them, and will still. That's what I've got. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. You guys are awesome, and come back soon.